Uh, Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Uh, Thank you again for coming back. I have several news updates to share with you for February 21st, 2024. So the pressure on Israel continue. There is a hearing about uh, Israeli occupation in Gaza and West Bank and its treatment of the Palestinians. That hearing is underway in International Court of Justice. Russia and other countries are presenting the case, exposing what Israel has been doing on Palestinians. Also, the United Kingdom Parliament discussing uh, and calling for immediate ceasefire in Gaza. That's another one. Uh, we have to watch. I think as I watch these parliament members speaking, it looks like they might uh, have that resolution, ceasefire in Gaza. The UN, United Nations Security Council, voted yesterday. US again for the third or fourth time veto that resolution. Uh, so the United States is, doing its own ceasefire resolution, calling for temporary, not permanent. But I don't know if this one can pass the UN Security Council. But the one sponsored by Algeria failed due to United States veto power. So, but the call for ceasefire still continue, and the call for to save Palestinians in Rafah, for indiscriminate Israeli bombardment still continue. Protests continue against that oppression. Government are saying no to Israel. Enough is enough. So the pressure is high. I don't know if the Israeli government, the corrupt Netanyahu government will listen to these calls, but we'll see. But I have a little bit debate from UK and also other news on UN Security Council votes. Under the reports on Ethiopia, especially the memorandum of understanding signed between Somaliland and Ethiopia, is still on track, according to Somaliland foreign minister. So that thing is not deleted, despite Somalia government threats and all kind of diplomatic efforts. So that treaty is still intact, and the planning going on, and also the UNICEF damning reports about the challenges in Ethiopia, especially famine and the people looking for help. Millions. Prosperity Party don't like these reports, but it's out there. More and more Ethiopians are looking for humanitarian aid. So Prosperity Party is exporting wheat. They don't want to hear about this hunger or famine. But UNICEF, I have a video on that one. Also on the passing of one famous Ethiopian artist, Getachew Kaasa. This is a well-known artist, passed away due to illness. But, we express, Concerned Citizens Media express deepest condolences to the family, friend, and to the fans of Getachew Kaasa on his passing. So he just passed away, and there is a funeral arrangement on Friday. Have a little bit clips for Getachew Kaasa too. So I have several news to share with you, but let me start a little bit update. The government, the federal government, and the regional government in Oromia claiming uh, restoring peace and stability in East and West Wallagga, according to the news I got from government-affiliated media. The two governors, East Wallagga and West Wallagga administrators. One is Wagari Nagara, East Wallagga administrator, and also another one, uh, Solomon Tamuru, for West Wallagga administrator. So they are claiming relative stability coming back to East and West Wallagga zone in Oromia region. But this claim never been independently verified. They are claiming victory against Oromo Liberation Army. Relative calm and peace and stability is coming to several districts controlled by federal forces. This is their claim, and we just keep looking for other independent reports or OLA, Oromo Liberation Army report, but it's not confirmed by independent media, but the government is claiming a relative calm in this region. Fantale area also in Eastern Shore zone experiencing heavy military operation between federal forces and Oromo Liberation Army. Mara region is still a very tough place. War is still happening between Fano militia and the federal forces, including government using drones, and the civilian casualties have been reported by different medias. So the challenge is we don't have independent media. All government, even the government media, is not saying that much about these military operations. We have so many: Ethiopian News Agency, FANA, Walta, OBN, all so many, but they are not allowed to report, and foreign media are banned, except sometimes we hear from Voice of America. So let's listen to the little bit about United Kingdom Parliament discussing ceasefire. Then I have very short video about the passing of Getachew Casa, and I will continue sharing news on reading and video. Thank you again for coming back.
As parliamentarians, to do something about it. We all know that peace can be possible, but that it starts with tentative steps. Ceasefires are not easy. The honourable members from Foyle and Belfast South gave their experiences, and other colleagues brought dispatches from their conversations and visits in the region. We are under no illusions of the challenges, but we must try. In this place, we have a duty. We have an obligation, a very special obligation, when it comes to the Middle East. And every moment we delay and equivocate, more people die. It could not be more crucial than that. This is not a debate about semantics or procedure, it's about principle. It is about the people of Gaza. It is about saving lives. The hostages must be released. Aid must be allowed in. Negotiations must begin. And it is on our consciences, on all of our consciences here in this place. If we do not stand with our international partners, with countries around the world, with international aid organisations, with the United Nations, we must have a ceasefire, and we must have a ceasefire now.
Point of order, Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know that the Speaker is a servant of this House and that he takes his responsibilities to us extremely seriously. It is that duty towards us and our rights as members in this place that commands our respect of him. We all have obligations in this place to ensure that all views can be expressed and that individual members and parties of all colours and sizes can have their say. As a member of the government benches, sometimes that is difficult on opposition day debates. Motions are always deliberately confected to try and engineer the greatest possible backlash against members. But we, on this side of the House, have never asked that the procedures of this House be upturned in order to mitigate against such pressures. Even when we have faced extreme abuse. Mr. Speaker has stated in the decision that he has taken today and that he is entitled to take that he wished for all propositions on the order paper to be put to the House. However, this decision has raised temperatures in this House on an issue where feelings are already running high, and this has put honourable and right honourable members in a more difficult position. It also appears from the advice of his clerk that the decision is taken against the long-standing and established processes and procedures of this House, and that the consequences may be that government is not able to respond to opposition day motions, and as such, the government does not have confidence that it will be able to vote on its own motion. For that reason, the government will play no further part in the decision this House takes on today's proceedings. I would like to stress that the government's position on Israel and Gaza remains unchanged, as my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, outlined today. We want to see the fighting in Gaza end as soon as possible. We never again want to see Hamas carry out the appalling terrorist attacks that Israel was subject to. And we know that just calling for an immediate ceasefire now, which collapses back into fighting within days or weeks, is not in anyone's interests. We will be reiterating the government's position via a written ministerial statement. I fear that this most grave matter that we are discussing today and this afternoon has become a political row within the Labour Party, and that regrettably,
Order. I want to hear the point of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and that regrettably, Mr. Speaker has inserted himself into that row with today's decision and undermined the confidence of this House in being able to rely on its long-established standing orders to govern its debates. Long-established conventions that should not be impaired by the current view of a weak leader of the opposition and a divided party. I would ask, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would ask that the Speaker take the opportunity to reassure all honourable and right honourable members that their Speaker, our Speaker, will not seek to undermine those rights in order to protect the interests of particular members, and that future opposition day debates will not be hijacked in this way. And I say this, Madam Deputy Speaker, for the benefit of all members.
Order. I will take further points of order, but I think it will be helpful if I just explain that I thank the Right Honourable Lady for alerting me to her point of order, and just to explain that if the government is not going to move its amendment, the questions will be, first of all, on the current amendment, and secondly, on the motion itself, either as amended or in its original form. That I just hope that is helpful, and it would be helpful if I could be heard. Thank you. Order. I'm first of all taking a point of order from the Shadow Leader of the House, Lucy Powell.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Obviously, I haven't had advance notice of the point of order from the leader, so I'm responding in terms today. Of course, we support what the Speaker was intending to do today. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Yeah, we support the Speaker.
We are going to listen to the points of order. The Leader of the House was heard, and the Shadow Leader of the House, and then I will come on to the Leader of the SNP. But I expect everybody to be heard with respect. Lucy Powell.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Sorry, I mean, last time I looked, the government benches had a majority in this House. So if they don't like the amendments that are before them, they could vote this evening to defeat those amendments. But they have decided now not to, I understand, vote in those debates. So perhaps we have to ask the question whether or not they do still command a majority in this House this evening, or whether they're trying to hide behind some other reason. Because keep shouting, you're just embarrassing yourselves, quite honestly.
You've given up governing.
Absolutely giving up. The Speaker is trying, I think, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Order. It's so bad just to be shouting the Shadow Leader of the House down. Members and right honourable members should think what they are doing in behaving like this. The Shadow Leader of the House will be heard, and I am sure she will be coming to the point of order that she wants me to rule on.
A large number of members on this side of the House who wanted to express their view this evening in being able to vote for a motion in their name, for an amendment in their name. Okay? They're still shouting me down, Madam Deputy Speaker. They have an amendment in their name, which they obviously clearly don't have the numbers to now get through this House, because and it's astonishing, really, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the party opposite are now suddenly finding themselves standing in defence of the Scottish Nationalist Party, something I didn't think I'd see very often. But
so it's interesting. It's an open discussion. I like it. I like the system. No pressure. Even though you hear some shouting to silence her, but we should have open debate in Ethiopia too, in Ethiopian parliament. It's a democracy, it's a free speech. No one can be arrested for saying anything against the Prime Minister of England. It's open. You can say, you can debate, you can criticize the Prime Minister, but this is not happening in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, as you know, opposition parties for calling on the Prime Minister to set aside or to resign. They have been detained without removing their immunity from prosecution. They didn't do. They did after a month for the Minister of Peace, Taye Danda, late. The law is clear in Ethiopia. The constitution is clearly written, but in practical terms, in application, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is using as he wishes, and Justice Department controlled by Prime Minister, Defense controlled by Prime Minister, Intelligence, everything. So the law is broken. The constitution is broken. MEPs just taken into custody by undercover operatives. This is not happening in the United Kingdom, and you see the debates. We appreciate, and if you watch furthermore, you can get it from Sky News, BBC, or other news outlets. So let's continue with another one about the passing of artist Getachew Kasa. Very short video, and continue the news. Thank you again.
Stop trading stocks. Millionaire trader.
Okay, this advertisement.
Before you place another trade, pay attention to this. Because
Okay,
I'm going to show
there you go.
አንጋፋው ድምፃዊ ጌታቸው ካሳ ከዚህ ዓለም በሞት ተለይቷል። ድምፃዊው ባደረበት ህመም በሕክምና ሲረዳ ቆይቶ ማረፉ ተገልጿል። አንጋፋው ድምፃዊ ጌታቸው ካሳ ሀገሬን አትንኳት፣ ውብ አዲስ አበባ ሳይሽ ሳሳለው፣ ክፈቹና መስኮቱን፣ የከረመ ፍቅር፣ ትዝ ባለኝ ጊዜ በሚሉትና በሌሎች ተወዳጅ ዘፈኖች ይታወቃል። ፋና ብሮድካስቲንግ ኮርፖሬት በድምፃዊው ጌታቸው ካሳ ህልፈት የተሰማውን ሀዘን እየገለጸ ለወዳጅ ዘመድ እንዲሁም አድናቂዎቹ መጽናናትን ይመኛል።
The latest report by the U.S. Children's Fund has
Okay, we'll come back to UNICEF damning report on Ethiopia, which Prosperity Party doesn't appreciate, doesn't like. They want to talk prosperity. They want to talk about exporting agricultural product to it and self-sufficient food security. They don't want to talk about the huge humanitarian aid needed in Ethiopia. And this is misleading Ethiopians and the global community. People are suffering. The government is saying exporting. So that's a challenge. So sad to report is the passing of artist Getachew Kasa. And these are some of the works mentioned in this video. Hagarin Atunkwat, Wub Addis Ababa, praising the beauty of Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia. Saish Sasalo, Yekarama Fikr, and others. So it's a very sad. And he got no family. On one interview, he said his family is his music and himself. He lives by himself. In recently, Addis Ababa city mayor provided three bedroom units. So by himself, no known close relatives, no. And it's mentioned he got one daughter. That's it. He got no relatives, no close relatives. He lived by himself until the end of his life. So rest in peace, Getachew Kasa. Let's continue sharing other news and reading very quickly. This is about memorandum of understanding signed between Ethiopia and the Somaliland. Still not changed, not deleted, despite the opposition from Somalia. It says, I got it from Addis Standard, couple of news. Somaliland says preparation for implementation of MoU with Ethiopia on track. The Somaliland Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has said the Somaliland government is on course without any wavering and remain seized, in quotation, of the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding signed with Ethiopia, adding that a technical team of international legal experts and high-level advisory group to advise and guide the process has been appointed. So, according to a statement released by the ministry on 20 February, following various engagement in Addis Ababa, aligned the 37th African Union Summit A delegation led by the Somaliland Foreign and International Cooperation Minister Isa Kaid Mohamud, PhD, has been able to ascertain that the Memorandum of Understanding, in quotation, is not only lawful, legal, and legitimate under international law and the statute, but how transformative it is for Somaliland and Ethiopia, and also for the region, both in terms of the economy, trade, and security spheres. End of quotation. The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on 1st January 2024, granting Ethiopia access to the sea in return for international recognition for Somaliland, has escalated tension in neighboring Somalia, which argued that the Memorandum of Understanding, in quotation, violates its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The move also generated several diplomatic statements from various countries pledging their support for Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Likening the Memorandum of Understanding signed with Ethiopia to the multi-million-dollar investment project reached with the United Arab Emirates, Dubai Ports World, DP World, for the expansion and modernization of the Berbera port, the ministry enunciated Somaliland's capacity to enter into bilateral cooperation agreements. Furthermore, Somaliland said that its delegation received, in quotation, positive and encouraging, end of quotation, feedback on the issue of the recognition of Somaliland. In quotation again, we have met many delegations at the various levels to reiterate our case and the desire for the international recognition. The number of positive responses and the support for our cause is phenomenal. The ministry condemned what it described as, in quotation, unpalatable, rogue, and savage behavior of the President of Somalia, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, during the AU summit. The Ethiopian government has dismissed accusations made by the government of Somalia regarding the purported obstruction of its president during the AU summit, deeming them an attempt, in quotation, to garner attention from a specific media platform. Highlighting the recent allegations on the killing of Abdi Nasir Muse Dahabil, a young aviation engineer in Mogadishu, Somaliland, cautioned against, in quotation, irresponsible hate narrative against Ethiopia and Somaliland by leaders of Somalia, while sending out an emergency alert and a call to Somaliland citizens to evacuate Somalia. Somaliland has blamed the deaths to the ongoing airspace dispute that has resulted in the weaponization of the Somaliland airspace by our neighboring country, Somalia. So that's a tragedy. And also, Oromo Ethiopians lost their lives due to this memorandum of understanding signed between Ethiopia and the Somaliland government. It's a tragedy. Oromos has nothing to do with this memorandum of understanding. Abiy claims he's from Oromo, but he is also victimizing Oromos back in Ethiopia. So I already said Somalian government, they should refrain from attacking the refugees, the Oromo refugees living there. This should be controlled by the government. So things going on very bad on social media and also impacting people living there. The government should control. This is not good for Somalia. We have nothing to do with this. Amnesty called on Ethiopia authorities to stop using emergency law to silence peaceful dissent. Amnesty International accused Ethiopian authorities of using the extended state of emergency law in the Amara region, in quotation, to silence peaceful dissent by arbitrarily detaining prominent politicians, critical of the government and the journalists, and called an end to the practice. The Global Rights Watchdog said in a new report released that Ethiopian government must stop resorting to old tactics of denying basic rights through the pretext of emergency laws. I agree. It happened during Tigray war. Many Tigrayans were taken into custody, living in Addis Ababa and other cities without any accountability, without any justification, just by being from Tigray region. The same is happening now against Amaras, and they were appreciative of the government tactics at the time. They were supporting Abiy Ahmed, now coming back to them and hurting. On 2nd February, Ethiopian lawmakers voted to prolong the 6-month state of emergency declared in the Amara region in August by 4 months more. By 4 more months, I mean. The extension of the emergency rule was presented by the Minister of Justice, Gideon Timotheus, and came as the region continues to grapple with a region-wide militarized conflict involving federal and regional state forces on the one hand and the Fano militia on the other. Minister of Justice Gideon Timotheus is just a right hand of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. He is doing his bidding. He is not following the constitution. He is not abide by the constitution. He is doing whatever Abiy Ahmed told him to do. Extend the election, arrest individuals based on their ethnicity. He will do. Justice is broken. So this is a well-known intellectual person, but manipulated by Prosperity Party. Minister of Justice Gideon Timotheus. In quotation, Ethiopians face another armed conflict in Amara region, a serious humanitarian crisis in Tigray, a dire security situation in Oromia, and a pervasive impunity nationwide. Impunity nationwide, yes. Nobody is accounted for any action. The role of the media and the rights to freedom of expression is as vital as ever, said Tigere Chaguta, Amnesty International's regional director for East and Southern Africa. The Ethiopian government initially announced the imposition of a 6-month state of emergency in August 2023 and said the decision was, in quotation, essential to implement emergency measures aimed at preserving public peace and security and enforcing law and order. The same argument used in Tigray. It was preceded by a series of instability in the regional states that began with mass protests in several major cities against the federal government decision to recognize regional special forces into regular police and the national army. The protests have quickly deteriorated to widespread clashes and instability and the subsequent assassination on 27th April of the head of the ruling Prosperity Party in the region, Girma Yeshitela. The regional state has since been the epicenter of the latest militarized conflict involving government forces, armed groups that swept large parts of the regional state. In quotation, the extension of the state of emergency proclamation has not yet been published in the country's Negarit Gazette. This lack of transparency violates the rights of access to information and the principle of legality, as Ethiopians are not able to determine whether their conduct amounts to a breach of the law or whether the law continues to apply nationwide. Tigere Chaguta said. Apologies for some name pronunciation. So it's supposed to be in a Negarit Gazette, but they don't want to do it. Who can ask them what is the consequence? Nothing. They just do whatever they want to do and not following the constitution. 5 politicians and 3 journalists have been arrested and remain detained without charge under the state of emergency, according to their family members interviewed by Amnesty International. Among those detained under the emergency rule include Christian Tadele, an opposition member of parliament, and Johannes Bayalo, a member of the Amara Regional Council. Furthermore, shortly before the emergency was extended on 2nd February, in quotation, federal security forces detained Desalegn Chane, a member of the federal parliament opposition party, also known for his criticism of the prime minister. Amnesty confirmed earlier media reports. It also cited media report that since the declaration of the state of emergency in August 2023, in quotation, mass arrest in the capital Addis Ababa and in Amhara region. Ethiopian authority must stop detaining people in mass with disregard for due process under the country's state of emergency law. They must uphold the country's national laws and international human rights obligation by either pressing charges or releasing everyone detained under the state of emergency, including high-profile politicians and journalists. That was a promise given to Ethiopians when Abiy Ahmed came to power in 2018, to respect the constitution, to respect human rights. Everything is rolled back by his administration. No respect for the constitution. Arrest without charge is common. Killing is common by security forces and other injustice in Ethiopia. In quotation, Amnesty International stands with Ethiopians calling for justice and accountability for human rights violations committed in Ethiopia. Systemic impunity continues to embolden perpetrators of crimes, and several successive states of emergencies have placed people at risk of rights violations. End of quotation. Tigare Chaguta further said, credit at this standard. So that is a tragedy. That is a tragedy we are suffering from in Ethiopia. Our people suffering. Okay, this is about, Houthi attacks, USA counterattacks, and because of Israeli oppression in Gaza. The ceasefire could have stopped this, but no ceasefire because of United States veto. So Houthis continue their attacks. Let's say what says. U.S. military drones shot down near Yemen, U.S. officials said. A U.S. military MQ-9 drone was shot down near Yemen by Iran-backed militant, 2 U.S. officials said on Tuesday, the second time such a shoot-down has taken place in recent months during a near-daily tit-for-tat between the group and the US forces. The Houthis, who have controlled most of Yemen for nearly a decade, have carried out repeated drone and missile strikes since November in the Red Sea and Bab al-Mandab Strait against commercial and military ships. US and British forces have responded with multiple strikes on Houthi facilities but have so far failed to halt the attacks. One of the officials speaking on the condition of anonymity said initial information showed that the US drone made by General Atomics was hit near Hadida on Monday. The official said information could change and didn't say if the drone was in international airspace. The second official said the drone was shot down by Houthi surface-to-air missile fired from near Hadida. The comments by the officials confirmed a claim by Houthis that they had shot down a drone near the port city. In November, another MQ-9 was shot down by the Houthis, and 2 drones were brought down by the group in 2019. The Houthi militants said on Monday they had attacked the Ruby Mar cargo vessel in the Gulf of Aden, which was at risk of sinking, raising the stakes in their campaign to disrupt global shipping in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza war. Despite Western attacks on them in Yemen, the Houthis have vowed to continue targeting ships linked to Israel until attacks on Palestinians in Gaza Strip stop. Creditors. So the easy thing to do for Western country was to declare ceasefire in Gaza, then see if the Houthi in Yemen will abide by. But instead of declaring ceasefire, they are continuing their veto and using various excuses to allow Israeli to continue their killing and the destruction of Gaza cities and beyond. Allow them to kill journalists, medical doctors, health workers, UN workers, school teachers. Nothing is exempted under the new reality supported by the United States, Biden administration and others. It's sad to see the complete destruction of Gaza. So sad. Okay. US, Russia, they, I think they may already spoken today. It was the United States and Russia will present argument on Wednesday in proceeding at the UN's highest court examining the legality of Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories. They already spoken. France, US, Russia presenting the case. 50 countries presenting the case. Some may be against, and some of them supporting the freedom of Palestinians and opposing the occupation. And the International Court of Justice, ICJ, also known as the World Court, was asked in 2022 by the UN General Assembly to issue a non-binding opinion on the legal consequence of the occupation. Israel, which is not taking part, said in a written comment that the court's involvement could be harmful to achieving a negotiated settlement. Washington in 2022 opposed the court issuing an opinion and is expected to argue on Wednesday that it cannot rule on the occupation's lawfulness. maybe already addressing because I printed last night. More than 50 states will present arguments until February 26. Egypt and France were also scheduled to speak on Wednesday today. They may already presenting. On Monday, Palestinian representative asked the judge to declare Israel's occupation of their territory illegal and said its opinion could help reach a two-state solution. On Tuesday, 10 states, including South Africa, were overwhelmingly critically of Israel's conduct in the occupied territories, with many urging the court to declare the occupation illegal. The latest surge of violence in Gaza that followed Hamas' October 7 attack in Israel has complicated already deep-rooted grievances in the Middle East and a damaged effort toward finding paths to peace. The ICJ's 15-judge panel has been asked to review Israel's, in quotation, occupation, settlement, and annexation, including measures aimed at altering the demographic composition, character, and status of the holy city of Jerusalem, and from its adoption of related discriminatory legislation and measures. End of quotation. The judges are expected to take roughly 6 months to issue their opinion on the request, which also asks them to consider the legal status of the occupation and its consequences for states. Israel ignored a World Court opinion in 2004 when it found that Israel's separation wall in the West Bank violated international law and should be dismantled. Instead, it has been extended because there is no consequences for doing that. No penalty, no punishment. It might ignore again. The current hearings could increase political pressure over Israel's war in Gaza, which has killed about 29,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza health officials, since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7. Credit Reuters. This number may be passing 29,000 every day. Every day, more Palestinians are killed by Israeli operation. Maybe more than 30,000 as we speak, because nobody is holding them. They just keep destroying lives. This is from U.S. State Department. It says new visa restriction policy for transportation operators, facilitating irregular migration to the United States. The State Department is today implementing a new visa restriction policy under Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 212A3C, that targets owners, executives, and senior officials of charter flight, ground, and maritime transportation companies providing transportation service designed for use primarily by persons intending to migrate irregularly to the United States. This new policy expands and supersedes the Nicaragua 3C policy on charter flight issued in November 2023. The policy targets transportation operations that prey on vulnerable migrants and facilitate irregular migration around the world and to the United States. Those who come to the United States without a legal basis often pay extortion labor prices and put themselves and accompanying family members at risk, only to be placed into removal proceedings pursuant to U.S. immigration law. No one should profit from vulnerable migrants, not smugglers, private companies, public officials, or governments. We will continue engaging with governments and the private sector, both within and outside the region, to eliminate these exploitative practices. That is so about new visa restriction from U.S. Department targeting those transportation companies and getting money and bringing people to the United States or other countries illegally, just making money. Just those who are in the Middle East taking money from mostly from African migrants and exporting them to West, European countries, making too much money and exposing them to even danger to the ocean. So that's all I have in reading. Let's continue videos, and the first one is UNICEF report on Ethiopia, and let's listen.
Alarming numbers included in it. New and ongoing drought, conflict and disease epidemics, as well as increasing food insecurity and expected flood events are putting at least 20 million Ethiopians at the mercy of emergency humanitarian aid. Out of this number, UNICEF said close to 11 million are children. The UN body also said it needs $535 million to address the multiple and growing challenge facing vulnerable populations and to help deter the disastrous consequences of overlapping crises in Ethiopia in 2024. The funds are needed to meet basic food needs, provide reproductive health services, vaccinate children, and give families access to clean water. Ethiopian authorities say they are acting in different parts of the country, including in Tigray, Amhara, Oromia, and Somali regions to address humanitarian needs, spending hundreds of millions of dollars so far. They say the government's capacity to tackle all the challenges at hand is limited. In 2023, the impact of conflict, drought, flooding, and disease outbreaks led to approximately 31.4 million people in need and 7.6 million children being out of school. Issues of access negatively impact schools' operations in Amhara and parts of Oromia, exacerbating existing problems in these regions. Group Data CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Okay, so that's a reality.
Anyone
from
with
the
$10,000
ground.
or more in credit card debt or personal loans may
Addis
qualify for
Ababa.
help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments could literally
Let's
keep you in
continue.
debt for decades.
Those against?
Again, her hand was raised to veto.
That's the USA.
Abstentions?
The UK abstained, but again, it was the vote of the US ambassador, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, that blocked a resolution that would have demanded an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The Algerian ambassador had been working on the draft for 3 weeks.
We will not stop until this council shoulders its responsibilities in full.
Apart from the US and the UK, all of the other 13 delegations on the Security Council strongly support an immediate ceasefire.
The suffering that Palestinians are enduring is beyond anything a human being should be subjected to.
The continued passive avoidance of an immediate ceasefire is nothing different from giving a green light to continued slaughter.
The human cost and the humanitarian situation in Gaza is intolerable, and Israel operation must stop.
The US ambassador told reporters this resolution would have sabotaged ongoing negotiations in the region on a ceasefire and a prisoner release, even though the two mediating countries, Egypt and Qatar, both support the draft. Ambassador Thomas Greenfield is now putting forward her own draft resolution for negotiation.
We're eager to continue working with the Council on this proposal, one that would see a temporary ceasefire as soon as practicable, based on the formula of all hostages being released, and one that would get aid into the hands of those Palestinians who so desperately need it.
Really?
Arab ambassadors say they'll now consider action in the UN General Assembly, but at the same time will pursue efforts in the Security Council to get a ceasefire. This is the fourth time the US has blocked Security Council action on a ceasefire. The new draft resolution appears to show that Washington's position is perhaps changing, but what's happened here means a ceasefire isn't going to happen anytime soon, and that means the death toll in Gaza is going to continue to rise. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
Okay. It's crazy.
The United Nations Food Agency is pausing deliveries of aid to northern Gaza. A spokesperson said the decision had not been taken lightly, but that safety and security could not be guaranteed for those delivering aid and those receiving it. There is, quote, complete chaos and violence due to the collapse of civil order, he said. On Sunday, aid trucks had been met with gunfire. The pause in food distribution comes as a UN study found that 1 in 6 children in Gaza was acutely malnourished.
Every time a family is displaced, they become more and more desperate. They lose some more resilience. And that's really a consideration when we are so worried about the threat of famine across the Strip. We know we can't reach everybody right now. It's impossible to get into the north.
Reports that Gaza's Nasser hospital has ceased to function following an Israeli raid. The World Health Organization has led 2 life-saving missions to transfer 32 critical patients, including 2 children.
If you can think about the worst situation ever, you multiply by 10, and this is the worst situation I have seen in my life. It's the debris, the light, working in the darkness, patients everywhere.
On the diplomatic front, the US has vetoed a UN resolution for an unconditional ceasefire in Gaza. Instead, it is proposing a temporary ceasefire with added conditions, including all hostages are released, as well as facilitating aid to Gaza.
Okay, so that's the end of the videos I selected for you today. There's a tragedy unfolding in the Middle East due to mainly by US diplomatic, economic, and weapons support for Israel. If the United States didn't veto the first UN Security Council, how many lives could be saved? How many, buildings? How many buildings people invested too much could have been saved? But Biden allowed her to use his veto power. So every time she raised the veto power to block UN Security Council, it is gonna haunt them, Biden administration, and those his cabinet members for life. This death and destruction. Almost 30,000 Palestinian lives, mostly women and the children. There is a purpose to target this. They don't want the number of Palestinians to increase. If you target women and the children, it's a very calculated operation by Israel, really, to cut the breed, to reduce the number. Women are giving birth, and the children are grown up and giving birth, and it's a very calculated, very dangerous, and no one is exempt anyway. Under the conflict of war, people with white flag will not be attacked, but this is happening under Israeli occupation or military operation. That's all I'm going to say for today. Be safe. So long, everyone.